Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Kirsten, the sassy centrist. I just figured out that I'm a centrist, so I'm going with that new name. And I have two of my lovely co-hosts with me. One familiar face.
Hey everyone, I'm back. It's Maxine, the Democratic wild card.
Hey, it's Nora Yaya, the liberal lobbyist lord.
The liberal lobbyist lord, exactly.
The liberal lobbyist lord.
Yeah, and we are Politics Podcast. Today's episode 37. We've got a lot to get to, so I'm not gonna chit chat too long. But I do want to hear. Maxine hasn't been on the show for a while, and we'd love to hear about how she's doing in quarantine life, island life, post-racial society life. Like, I don't know.
All of life.
So, everything. Tell us what's going on. Mom life, everything.
I know, I feel bad. I did say, we were like, oh, she'll just be gone for a short period of time. And then it ended up being like 8 months. But,
I know.
But it was just, it was a big move.
You could do it virtual.
Yeah, it was a big move, and it became a lot more difficult than I thought in terms of just like the amount of work it takes to move from one country to another and adjustment. And in fact, like there's still some like loose ends that I'm working through. But yeah, I live on an island, and it's so funny because a year ago I was saying I'd never leave the US, but we're adults and we're allowed to change our mind. And yeah, so I moved somewhere where I have a lot of support with the kids. Like when I tell you on this island, you don't work past 4:55 p.m., like everyone's packed up. It is like, you are done. There is no overtime. There's no stress. You know, it's 20 miles an hour speed limit. Like everyone drives slow. It's just a really perfect, like it's in line with where I was going, like mentally and spiritually with myself. And so I'm super happy. I absolutely just love my life. And even this particular country I live in has one of the best COVID responses in the entire world.
Oh.
Yeah, we're like known for just being top notch with it.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think to date we only had like 150 cases or something like that, and that's like from the beginning of it, like not
wow.
Yeah, and we had like a whole month and a half or so without a single case. So like it is like amazing.
Are you guys taking like, are tourists able to come or like right now, or is it just Europe?
Every single person has to be tested. And not only that, you have to have like 2 or 3 negative tests before you can leave a quarantine location, and they will monitor you. So like, it's funny because when I was coming here, I didn't need a test. The US didn't even ask me for even a questionnaire. Like, hey, have you been in contact? Nothing.
Wow.
But yet,
well, what do you expect? Federal, it's not a federal response.
Right.
Our federal response is like,
it's pretty like disappointing as an American to see that we don't do anything, not even a single question. Like, hey, do you know? Like nothing. And yet,
have you heard of COVID? Like a question. Like, do you guys know what COVID is? On your way out.
And then to go back where I'm going, I need to do all this stuff pre-test, 3 more tests when I'm there, like authorization online 48 hours before. Like there's so much stuff I have to do. And it's just kind of like, yeah, it's really like, damn, we really just messed up here. But
so what about like the race, like what's going on in America with like have you been keeping up with all the racial, like the Black Lives Matter movement?
Yeah, we had like, well, where I'm at, it's 65 or 70% Black. So it's a flip side for me. Like it's a majority there.
I think I would thought it'd been more. That's so fun. Is it like Dutch? Is it more like the Dutch people?
English. It's an English colony.
English.
Yeah. So there's still some racial stuff, but it's nothing like compared to the US. And we did like not a protest, but we did like a march on behalf, but it wasn't obviously like a riot or anything of that nature, just to recognize. But I mean, and then some stores put like the Black Lives Matter up, but it didn't create any kind of controversy or like real political, discrepancies down there. So, but that's my update, because I know we got a lot.
Yeah, we got a lot to go through. Yes. How are you, Nora? How's everything going with you?
Good. I am visiting fam in DC, and getting a break from the city and all craziness. So that's been lovely, but work is about to get hectic and crazy, and the city budget is just looking really pitiful in New York City. So yeah, that's what I have forward to look to in the future.
I'm hearing like the city is like almost like bankrupt. Like they're saying that there's no, like MTA has zero money. My friend works for the MTA and she's like does the budgets for them. She said like there's zero money. She's literally like moving around fake money. Like it's like nothing.
Oh, it's literally like monopoly money. I don't even know how we balance this budget. It was all predicated on the fact that we'd get like some federal stimulus. And since that hasn't happened, it's like now there's this huge gaping hole in our budget and there's no way to fill it. We have no revenue, no one is back out. The city is not truly back and running. Although they did say recently they're going to start like opening up gyms again and bowling alleys and stuff like that, but only at 25% capacity.
Oh, I have a question. Do you think that, because I mean, should the restaurants go first? Like the indoor, because I
just think that's like the least safe thing, because in the gym you can wear a mask and work out, whether you like it or not is a separate issue. But when you're eating, you have to take your mask off to eat. So, being indoors, I think that's the big issue. They have not made an agreement for indoor dining again.
Next year, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
What?
So.
Next
wow.
Year, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, we still have to do a coronavirus update kind of episode, but today is about Senator Kamala. Kamala was just picked by Joe Biden as the Democratic VP. She would be the first African American, Jamaican American, I should say, Indian American woman. So we have a lot to discuss today, and I'm excited. You guys ready to politic?
Yes.
Do it.
Great. All right. So many detractors are saying Kamala Harris was only selected because she's a Black and Indian woman. In your opinion, was Kamala the right person for the VP candidate position?
Was she the right person? I think it all depends on like what you think we needed, right? Like y'all know I stand for Elizabeth Warren. Y'all can say what you want to say, but I get why she wouldn't have been chosen, because right now we're at a point as a Democratic Party where we need to get as many votes as possible, right? And quite honestly, like Biden's campaign hasn't been motivating. There's been no momentum whatsoever. It's been very flat. And we needed someone who would be able to get people excited again, but not just excited, also feeling safe and confident, right? That this is someone who isn't going to like totally be on the left radical side and can kind of be a moderate Democrat, where we can get some of those Republicans who are over Trump's antics to kind of move over to the left a little bit. So I think she was a great candidate for that. And let's be real, Biden's like 78. My man's is barely there. He be stuttering, like, the struggle is real, okay? He's struggling. If something can happen to him, you leave the country in her hands, it's safe. It's someone who you can trust to lead the country versus a Warren, let's say, who may be more radical and people.
And is 70 also.
He's also 70,
right,
exactly.
Right. What do you think?
So that's my opinion. I think she was a good choice.
Okay.
I'm frustrated that I don't feel excited about it. Yeah, I'm really like, it bothers me, but I have zero like excitement, happiness. I don't even feel a connection.
Right.
That's like even deeper. Like I don't feel the same feeling I felt like about Obama. Like I just don't have like the same, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the time period we're in and the way, they just kind of go so deep into people's past and all that, and it's different than maybe 10 years ago when someone was running and it was all about like the surface level stuff, whereas now they're really kind of tearing people apart, and so it's hard to have an objective opinion about them. But I feel like she was the obvious pick, and I just feel like it was because we have to have a Black woman, and I hate that. Like, why does it have to be that way? Why, you know what I mean? Just to get votes, or just the optics of it, it kind of just loses the you know, sincerity or being genuine in any way. And so I feel like it was just kind of handed just because it has to be, and that loses for me the value of what would have been, you know. So that's kind of like the surface level, but then when you dig on the person and, you know, what she brings to the ticket and all that kind of stuff, you know, I still ask myself, was she experienced enough, in the sense of, like, she was only a senator for maybe what,
two years
before she started running for, you know, and then really where's the foreign policy, like, so we don't have all the different levels.
Biden has a foreign policy on lock.
If you're saying, like, you know, Nora was just saying the confidence of, if he was to, you know, croak tomorrow, day 2 of his presidency, like do the job. And it's just like, I just feel she's kind of like a puppet almost to just win. And
look at Kirsten's face.
Listen, I gotta keep it real, Kirsty.
Oh my God, I want to call her Chris. Like, I want to call her the conservative.
No, she's not. She's actually very, I think, you know, what I'm hearing is you're very liberal, and it's not going to get you to the point where you want to be. And I think a lot of my, you know, liberal Bernie friends, I would say, are extremely disappointed to the point where they don't want to show up at all to go vote, right? So
I have to admit, and Kirsten, I'll let you go in and do your thing, but I actually said those words a few days. I think it was when it first happened. I was so disappointed and shocked that I actually said, like, for the first time since I was 18, I don't know if I'm want to vote. You know, and even my mom, she was like, I might sit this one out for the first time. My mom's in her 50s for the first time since she was a teenager. And I had to check myself, though, because everybody knows I was a surrogate. Well, I don't know if you do, Nora, but people who are familiar with me on the show know that I was a surrogate for Hillary Clinton. And I'm finding myself now, like, having this epiphany of, like, whoa, this is what everyone was going through with Hillary, where they weren't excited about her, you know, and I remember feeling, like, frustrated with them.
I am them.
Yeah, I was frustrated with them because I'm just like, why can't you do the right thing? And why would you? And here I am. So I was having this epiphany of, like, wow, this is what they meant when they said they weren't connected. I think the issue is, the difference is I had a personal relationship with her. So what people were seeing, the disconnect, the cold-hearted looking woman, the fakeness that they were seeing with Hillary, I'm like, but that's not her. And yet I don't know Kamala personally, so maybe she is a completely different, amazing, wonderful, like, really great person, but I'm just going off what I see. So I'm actually having this crazy dynamic of, like, this is what everyone was going through in 2016 with Hillary, and I'm now having it with her, and it's frustrating because she is a woman of color and I'm a woman of color, so I should be even more connected to her than Hillary Clinton, and yet I'm not. So I'm like, what do I do about this? And I'm just keeping it real. You know, I know that's probably upset a lot of people who are kind of like, girl, we've been waiting for this. Get on board, get it together. Like, we deserve this. And I don't know. So that's
there is the idea of, like, you know, we're never happy with our choices, right? You're never going to have the perfect candidate, you know. I mean, obviously she has, you know, both Joe and Kamala aren't, like, they weren't my candidates, right? It's weird. I was kind of excited in the beginning for Kamala when she first announced, like, her presidency. Like, I just loved I like the energy for the people. I was like, oh, okay. And then I got smacked with her record because I didn't know her, you know what I mean? And then I read about her and I was like, oh. And then I started seeing, like, how she spoke and how it felt very, like, just not. And I read why, and there's more to it. I read why it felt very, not, I don't want to use the word fake, but inauthentic. What is the word? Oh my God.
Inauthentic?
Just inauthentic is the word I'm trying to say. It didn't feel like politically. Remember that time when she said something in a debate, and then like 10 minutes later the T-shirt was made, and it was like, it was like, what the fuck? She literally just said that, but it was like she had that plan to say the T-shirt's already made well in advance. But the point of what I'm saying is I learned about that, and I found out one single thing that I'm not gonna blame everything on this particular thing, but I am gonna say that one of her her sister Maya. Do you guys know who
Yeah.
Maya is?
Mhm.
Maya also was Hillary Clinton's like she was part of her like inner circle, right? And she was, I think, her campaign manager, and she was also Kamala's. So I'm not sure if there's a connection to the you must talk like this, you have to act like this, because what happens with politicians is they become a shadow of who they really are. Where honestly, some of them, like you said, could be really like we started to see like Hillary Clinton. Like there's one interview that I saw Hillary Clinton, and I was like, oh my God, why wasn't she showing this? I think it was Howard Stern interview, and she showed to be like an amazing thought provoke, like just so I mean the person I always respected, and I realized that especially for women too, that's another thing. It's like it's just so hard we have nobody like when it comes to like who else could we have picked in this position? I mean, you said Elizabeth Warren, but what other Black woman could we have? Who?
Yang, but that's my.
Well, Yang, yeah.
Oh, you mean as a woman, right?
But I'm saying, as a woman, Yang would have been great. But with everything, it just
Lord, we know he wouldn't be. That's why he's not here in this conversation.
He might be in a cabinet though. But I mean, long story short, I do think I want to just say, because you talked about like she seems like a puppet. I do want to also say that she's really qualified in the sense of like she's really, really brilliant attorney. She's a #1 prosecutor. Like the reason why she's so scary to Republicans, that's all we keep hearing. She's scary. She's so scary. Oh my God,
so
she's
silly.
scary. It's because she's really a really brilliant prosecutor, and she will tap that. Okay, she will get in your ass. You know what I mean?
Isn't that interesting how they're trying to make her seem radical and like a leftist and like all this craziness? And I'm like, that's literally the leftists. We're literally like, no, she's the furthest from that.
Yeah,
so it shows the fear.
It's not working. It shows the fear. They're trying everything to throw. And the thing is, the good news is, I think she was a good pick because she went through the rigmaroles already because she ran for president. So we kind of saw her stuff. So now they're just trying to figure out and they're also, the Republicans didn't know they were going to pick her. Like they were like surprised. They really thought they were going to pick with safer candidates. And when they found, when she was selected, they were like, oh wait, what? How? Like she called you racist. Like why would you?
I was gonna say, especially because they were going at each other at the debate. So you're gonna have
politics.
To get back.
Lindsey Graham called Trump all kinds of names, and now he's his golf caddy. Stop. I don't even want to hear it.
But
Ted Cruz, same thing. They're all.
But that's what we're tired of. We're tired. Like it makes you question the whole transaction. Like, how did you sit there and say all these things about this person, and now all of a sudden they're the greatest thing and they should run for president? Like it's just like that.
Here's my thing though. I guess Maxine, my question to you is like, well, what do you want them to do, right? Because in reality, I guess what I'm frustrated with is like the Democrats, like we're still playing this constitutional, like safe, like appropriate game, right? And we realize that is no longer the context in which we are operating from. We have a demagogue in office, someone who, if he could have it his way, would literally be a dictator. We don't even know how November is going to be because my man's is not going to leave this office quietly, right? Even if we win. So like, is there going to be a coup? We don't know. This is the type of situation that we're in as a country. And so the idea of still playing like polite, appropriate politics, like that's where I feel like the Dems are so weak to me because we're not catching up to what's going on right now.
Always have been.
You don't have to be polite, but you could stick to policy. She almost implied that he was racist. That's a personal
He has some racist-like characteristics. And it's like, how do you not call them out on that? And now we have to hold each other accountable. Like in reality though, who's going to get these votes? It's not Bernie. It's not Warren. It's not Kamala by herself. It's going to be Biden. That's who's going to get middle America votes. That's who's going to make white people feel safe again to come back to the Democratic side. And we have to be strategic to get this man out of office. And I just feel like sometimes the Dems, we get whiny and we get like no one's perfect. And it's like, no, none of the country isn't perfect. We're founded on like racist, capitalist, imperialistic views. And it's our job to hold these people accountable and push them closer to the America we want to see. But we're not going to get a candidate who's gonna care about Black people. I don't see it. I mean, seriously.
Speaking of Black people, many have said that Kamala isn't Black enough. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Do you feel like she is? And I want to hear from you guys, if you don't mind. If you can just say like your ethnic breakdown, or what your parents are from, and how you feel this particular topic is, either you relate to it or not.
Yeah. Okay, I can start. So I'm half Black, half Puerto Rican. And I think I grew up with a complete identity crisis. I was never Puerto Rican enough, and I was never Black enough. And I think I spent my whole life trying to figure out, it's almost, I feel like, harder to be mixed, because you're trying to be like two different identities instead of like one. I know that sounds like weird, but I guess if you're mixing, you maybe would understand it. And I think as I got older, I started to just feel more like a Black woman. So that's what I identify with. However, I think, and I don't like the whole dividing of, like, I feel like this whole thing divides us as Black people, but I think it's important to at least acknowledge certain things. Like, for example, I do realize that there was some privilege to being mixed, and like, I know that I experienced that. I know for a fact there was a privilege to like having lighter skin or having more European like hair. So I acknowledge these, like, I want to call them privileges. I don't know what's a better word for them, but don't want to feel less Black. I still want to be considered Black, and a lot of people don't for me, but I think I kind of understand it depending on who I'm talking to and maybe what they went through. So that's kind of like my response, but I don't think it's fair for people to say that. I think in the context of maybe how she lived her life and whether she authentically, identified as a Black woman, whether she cared about any Black issues, those I think are maybe some fair things to bring up, but to like deny her own ethnicity, I don't think that's fair at all. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, I agree with that. I am Black and Arab, like East African Arab, and very light-skinned, and with that, 3C hair curl pattern. So
yes, girl, beautiful hair pattern. Oh my God, her curls.
So we went. You go through it. Definitely growing up, was like, what do you mix with? What do you mix with? But because I was raised by majority, my dad's side is my Black American side, and not like, Nigerian American, but just like Black slave descendant, which I do think there is a distinction there, is just, that's how I've lived. My experience has been that of a Black woman, regardless of what I look like, right? So I think that's also important. Kamala, I know her parents got divorced and her dad left, and she was raised by her mother, who's of Indian descent, at the age of 7. So I think also who you're raised by makes a big difference in how you culturally identify.
Yeah,
and I think that is where people are calling her out. But sis did go to Howard. It definitely seems like she wanted to get more in touch with her Blackness. And I don't think that we can, this erasure, you know what I'm saying, of like her identity is just so silly and foolish to me. But I think the fear is that someone who didn't live those Black woman experiences won't go to the mat for us. And I think that's where it's really rooted in.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Amazing answers. I agree 100%. I mean, my breakdown, my father is from Africa, West Africa. My mom is from Haiti, but she's mixed. She's half German. And I always felt the opposite of what you guys felt. I felt like just identifying more with like my Haitian African side, and not feeling like I understood African American plight, Black American plight specifically. And because growing up, our parents, the way they'd raised us was like, go to school, do this, do that. And it was always kind of different when I spoke to or when I went to the first time I went to a Black church, a Baptist church, how it was like, whoa, I always felt like a white girl in these moments, because the way my parents kind of raised me, it felt like, this is follow this route. This is the route to go. And I understand that. And people would question like, oh, she's such a white girl. She's an Oreo. Oh, she's this, whatever. So I've never been the Blackest of the Black. I don't speak, specifically, we all when we're younger had, spoke with slang, but I always felt like people be like, you're not authentically being you. And I feel like there's so many different versions of we're not a monolith, like we always say, and I feel this is in the opposite of what you were saying, Max. I actually relate to Kamala, where, she was, her father's Jamaican, her mother is Indian, her, like you said, they were divorced, and, she relates more to her mother, and that's okay. You know what I mean? That's
Right.
okay. It's not it's not cause for confusion. She still walks around with a black. I was like going off on like Instagram people, because I just when everyone was
Instagram.
They were talking about how she isn't black enough, and I'm like, but what does that really mean? What does that truly mean? And who is the person that tells you if you are?
Knows what that means.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like it's an argument that is tried and it's played and it's stupid and it divides us. At the end of the day,
it's also very focused on skin color a lot when they say
that. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe that's what it is.
Like,
yeah,
I think if she had an half Indian, half Jamaican, but she was dark skinned, people wouldn't be
no. At all.
Oh, I don't want to bring that in. I don't want to bring that.
No, I was gonna say, but to be fair, like she would have lived a different experience if she was dark skinned. Like we can't act like she didn't have privilege. You know what I mean? With her, she's very fair, and her hair is very fine, and she could probably pass for a number of different things. And so
she's
when
beautiful.
you walk into but when you walk into a room as a dark skinned woman with your hair texture in a different way, you're gonna live a different experience than someone who has fair skin who walks in that room with their hair is able to be, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
no white woman's trying to put their hand in your hair. Right.
And that's the point I was trying to make about, like, I've acknowledged that privilege. And I think if she had, I don't know what's the manner in which she would present that, people may appreciate that more.
I agree with that.
The way, so that's, I think, maybe the little piece that is maybe missing.
She's an AKA, like I said, she is something about
that's
her.
That's a whole other issue, honey.
Yeah.
No, I'm playing.
What's that?
What? An AKA?
Sorority?
Oh, right.
Yeah. She, I mean, that's, and she pledged in Howard, like all the sorority girls, which is, no, but that people, they respect her because that's where it started. So it's like, she's really respected with her sorority sisters. And, we don't have a Michelle Obama running. I think that's what Black people of America really would have rathered.
Oh my gosh,
I would have cried if she was like, I literally wouldn't. I would have voted. I would have stayed like at this, like waiting to vote. Like I would just be there waiting. Like, is it?
I would have quit my job and worked on her campaign.
Yeah,
let's do this. Free. How do we? Let's make this happen.
Maybe in 4 years we might have that. You never know. With everything happening, you never know. Like, who knows? We'll see. But
another issue people have with her with respect to Blackness and being Black, and as someone who's a product of interracial relationship, I support them, but she's married to a white man.
Oh, yes. Right. Oh my God, I forgot about that.
You should be able to love who you love. I think she should
be.
It doesn't make you less Black, but there's people, again, who feel, and for the most part, she's had, I don't know how long, but she's been in the public eye, so you have kind of a privilege, like in that sense as well. So having her feel like, how does she really connect? And she chose a white man. So there's all these things that people factor into, are you Black enough? And coming to their equation is like, she's not, because of all these things. That's just something else that unfortunately comes into play. And she is married to a white man. So
yeah, and her personal life has been kind of I don't want to get into that stuff, but there's been a lot of stuff that have been put out there, and I think that all of that stuff is just, I mean, I do agree that kind of affects the way you policy and the way you think of things. And I think one of the things that we said that makes 100% sense, I mean, she was raised by an Indian woman, so she might identify more on certain things as an Indian woman. She might look like a Black woman or mixed woman or whatever, but there are certain cultural things that Indian people prescribe to. So there's just so much, and again, I want to say she's a brilliant attorney. I don't want to focus on too much of the silly stuff, because she was a prosecutor, she was an attorney general, like she's qualified in that sense. She has all the makings of being a wonderful political person. It's just really how much can we get from her, and I think that it's important for us to, stand with her, but that's my personal opinion. All right, so let's get into the next one. So Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are seen as cops. Black and brown people trust the I'm sorry. The question is, how can Black and brown people trust them when they are so tough on crime? Joe Biden being the author of the 1994 crime bill, and Kamala being California's attorney general and having a very, very tough on crime stance. Do you think this is a fair assessment to call them cops?
Yeah. They mad copy. Like you have decimated Black families. What do you like? We can't walk away from the past and what happened. And I think, to Maxine's point, I agree. Like, when you are transparent and when you are honest and forthright about your past, then we can heal and move forward as Black people. Right. But right now, you're trying to sweep that under the rug, and it's like, well, she was just doing her job. She may very well have been, and her consequences are still the same. You broke up Black families. And as a child of incarcerated parents, I feel particularly strongly about that, because I know what it's like to have existed in this world in which you all created this legislation. And I don't think she's all bad. You know, I definitely think we do have to acknowledge, like, it was the 90s and she was a woman and she was Black and the rules were entirely different. And she had good intentions, like her truancy bills, right? I know. But the way it started, Maxine, because I was like, I gotta look at this. You just arresting Black families because their kids not come to school. Like, you know, Black mothers.
Wait,
okay.
Can I just say that is very Indian of her? Like, all Indians and West Indians too know what it is. But you're not gonna go to school, or gonna come get your or Africans. Like, you're not gonna go to school. We're gonna come take your mom. We're gonna come take your dad. Like, that is real. That is so real.
But apparently it started because she was trying to, you know, address recidivism, and people were getting locked up again and again and again. And so then she's like, okay, a lot of these people, obviously, but this is the 90s, y'all. A lot of these people were high school dropouts. Okay, so if we can do prevention work, then we can ensure that maybe we won't have as many criminals on the streets. But she went all the way to third grade because it's an indicator. If you're to drop out of high school, normally by third grade, you know if this child, which is also effed up for a number of reasons, but this is what they do. And so that's how the truancy bill came about, as a means of prevention to crime. And so what you did is you criminalized mothers whose kids aren't going to school. So I'm like, I see what she was trying to do, but it's like her execution is so flawed. Like, where was your team to tell you, like, nah, this isn't it, you know? But again, it was a different time. Yeah, so I don't know.
That bill rubs me the wrong way as a parent, and especially as one with a child with learning disabilities and special needs, having gone through the process, and especially seeing the way the system failed, especially Black and brown kids. A lot of them, we don't know what was going on at home. We don't know what was going on with their learning needs. So it was just a very, like, you know, but again, it was the time period. I will say my opinion on this topic. It's very human nature to focus. There could be 10 positive things and one negative thing, and it's human nature to focus on the negative. And I think we're doing that naturally with Kamala. And I think it's also because it's sexy to focus on all the negative stuff. So I was so for, like, oh, terrible person, or attorney general, what she did. And I wasn't looking into or even focusing on maybe any of the positive stuff that she did do as well. You know, so when you stop looking at the, like, you know, the quick ones on Instagram and the memes going around, and you actually do some research, you'll see that, you know, there was a lot of good she did do and try to do while she was attorney general. Another thing is, a lot of it was her office, and she's, you know, but again, if it's your office, you take your responsibility, but it wasn't always her individually that did these things, but being passed on as her because it was her office. So it was, you know, other lawyers in her office. So that was another thing I thought, oh, that was important for me to look into, because it wasn't her standing there making a decision, but she ultimately, you know, head of the office. So anything they do is her responsibility. But I think that changed a lot about how I feel about her. And like you said, during the times and all that kind of stuff. But I just don't think it's a balance. And I don't think we're being fair to her when we look at her record with respect to criminal justice, because she did a whole program. I can't remember what it's called, but it was like a Fresh Start type of program where she was giving people like a chance, and it was like a rehabilitation program, and they were grown men, and they would wipe their records if you went through it was like a fresh, no one's talking about that. No one's talking about, there's so many different things that she did. So I just think that like if we are fair with it, we will be able to look at her a little bit differently. And so, you know,
decriminalize sex work, not all the way, but definitely for teenage sex workers. She wanted to make sure that they were seen as victims and not as criminals. And so that she created a program as well for young women who were on the streets. So she's done some good work. And recently I was corrected. I have to admit it. I still believe what I believe, but I said in one of my posts, like, I didn't think she'd be a candidate who would really move Biden because he's already pretty conservative as a Democrat, that we needed someone more radical so that we would be in the middle, you know, and she's not that radical candidate. But apparently, and I was specifically talking about legalization of marijuana, but she did introduce a bill in the Senate floor. She was the only one. She sponsored it. And I think it's S227, which would decriminalize cannabis, expunge records, and release prisoners. And this was in 2019, so it was strategic, but at the same time.
I was going to say, in 2015 or 14, she was against it, I think.
Well, she had to get in office. She has to at least get in office, then she can make, I think you all kind of gave some really great, I'm loving this conversation. And I think that it's important to just understand, like you said, like this, first of all, she's not the president. She's not running for president anymore. She's running for vice president. So we have to kind of give her, she's not doing any policy specifically. It's whatever Biden wants to do. So people have to also take that into consideration and not like focus. I mean, you can focus on what she's done. That's fine. For legitimate, just to understand who she is, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what she stands for because it's not her. She's not the president. You know what I mean? So it's important to distinguish that. And I also just want to, point out that she's running the largest state in America. She was a senator for the largest state in America, the attorney general for the largest state in America in California, and she is highly respected amongst police officers, even some of the prisoners. Like one of the prisoners, the guy that, according to the stories on the social media, one of the people that was falsely imprisoned for like 5 years because cops were hiding evidence under her office. I don't know if it was her specifically that was a part of that, but he just came out and said, I do not want you guys to forget, like I was the victim of it, and I'm voting for her. Biden, I'm voting for Harris, I'm voting for Biden. Do not fall for the trick bag of Trump. This is separating us. I'm the person that, it happened to, and I'm voting for them. Do not, you know what I mean? So there is a little bit of like, we have to know the full stories with, like you said, and I'm glad you even brought up the fact that it's not specifically her making it. Sometimes people think that it's like, she's walking around, or even like she's making the decision. She's saying, no, with this cop, we're not going to do this. I don't think that's what she tried to do. I really think she came with the good intentions. And I still think she has great intentions for people of color. I don't think that she is against us.
I think people have to remember too that you inherit a lot of your team. You know what I mean? Like you get in this position and you can't just say, okay, I'm firing everybody because there's like racist undertones in this office. Like, no, you have to deal with what you're given. So like, that's the other part. I know people will bring up Oscar Grant and
but what about the prosecutors? What about the fact that a prosecutor and the police are like, like they have to work hand in tangible. Like, it's like, isn't that part of the job? Like you have to also protect them.
You do.
Right. So there's a little bit of that where she kind of can push and wiggle room, but and like you said, it's the 90s. So, and she was the first. She's in every position. She's been the first. So it's like, people don't understand how hard it is to be the first. One of the things I was even saying to someone was, what you don't understand, there are certain, like her saying when she swore in as senator, she said she was Indian American, and people thought that was outrageous. But I have to say that there's so many things that people have to do to just get in the door, just to get in, especially us people of color, that I don't fault them. I don't, as someone who has, you know how sometimes we have to code switch. Sometimes a lot of Black people, unfortunately, I don't think they understand. Some people don't, or white people don't understand the code switching that has to happen in order to get into these white spaces. It's a lot of work. It's taxing. So forgive her for not always coming in with her fist, her, you know, her Black Power, Black Panther fist, but it's not easy, you know? So I do want to, I just wanted to kind of give some of that context. And I also wanted to say the Joe Biden thing, because we have to focus, it's really Joe. I mean, he's the president. Like, his crime bill, how does he even begin talking about that and saying, you know, apologizing, or what does he say? And you having, like you said, you having parents that have, you know, been incarcerated.
I think he has to address it. I mean, does he have to? No, I'm going to vote for this man anyways, just because I care about the future of this empire. But like, seriously, okay? But I think also, like, he's going to have to say something, right? Like, how do you not address it? How do you not say, like, I didn't realize at the time the impact that this would have for decades and generations to come, right? And that's why I'm legalizing marijuana, and why I'm investing in these communities, and why I'm doing XYZ. Like, that needs to be the platform. But what I'm concerned about is, like, he's not that strong in that area, and honestly, nor is Kamala, and neither of them, to me, they seem like they buckle when their past is kind of brought up in that way, and that's not gonna work this time around.
They get very defensive. And that's, like, I think that's all we just need is a true, genuine moment of transparency, and a move and a healing moment for the whole country and the whole Democratic Party. And I think, I mean, I started the conversation the way I did, but just to be clear, I have all intentions as well of voting for Biden and
right.
Trump. It was just a moment I was having at first when she found out. I was like disappointed, and I was like, but then I had to check myself and all that. I too as well, but there are people who really may not. You know what I'm saying? And we can't let that happen. And whatever we need to do for them to feel comfortable, and if it's having a real, you know, detailed conversation about the criminal justice pass for both of them, and then how are we moving on? And I think making people feel better about the future. So maybe the policies or the people they're going to have in place that are going to, who you're going to be appointing.
But you know what? They're not going to do that. And it's because look at the NYPD just endorsed Trump, right? Or not the NYPD, their union just endorsed Trump. And I think even with the cops of Biden and Harris, honey, we are not going to get those people. And so for them to come out and apologize about them being tough on crime only makes them more left. And so I think that's why they'll never come out and say anything like that, because they still need to get those moderate, middle, you know, voters, and they want to see people who are going to be tough on crime. So this is like the bull crap of where we are as a country, is like the strategy, you know, the games that you have to play. We're never going to get it, you know?
Well, you have to think about it. It's 315 million people in this country. Like, there's almost no way that we can satisfy everybody. And for them, they have to play these games because, like you said, there's no way they're going to say, you know, I mean, I don't think there's a way for them to apologize. I think there's a way for them to at least identify what has happened and how they're trying to fix it. But even when they talk about fixing it, they can't say we're gonna like release all prisoners. That scares white America. That really scares them. That doesn't bode well for people who are moderately trying to figure out, who are still undecided, which I think is ridiculous when you're undecided and it's like 2 months before the election and you still don't know who you're voting for. Like, come on, like, get it together. Those are interesting things. I mean, I think I hope that they put people in place that will undo those wrongs, because they do know what it's done to specifically Black people. And we have to, again, when we say this, we have to always remember in context, Like Joe Biden didn't just write this in the middle of the night because he was bored. He wrote this. This was a response to crack pandemic. Okay, that's what I call it. Crack was taking over the streets of inner cities, and Black caucus, Black clergymen, and white, and also let's also remember Republicans they also benefit from this. They want. So let's not act like Republicans sat there and said, you wrote it, we had nothing to do. All of you guys were complicit. Bernie was in there too. And and you guys wanted this, right? So it was a way, because another thing that I quickly want to say is that I hate that they always make it seem like Black people don't believe in like safety. Like we want like criminal, like as if Black people want to live in crime infested cities. Like that's not, that's further from the I don't want to be in a place where I can't walk to the supermarket. Like that's BS. So we do also want the same things that white, Hispanic, whatever want, so it's just important to address that.
I think we also have to remember what politics is, right? And so it's like, it's an exchange. It's always an exchange, right? And so it's prisoner's dilemma. And it's like, okay, if you're going to vote and, push this bill, then I'll give you these 4 bills. And this is how we're going to get things done. And I think the American populace really forgets, like, these are deals that are being made. This legislation is backed by this, this, and this. So you may have gotten this crime bill. And on the other side, you may have also gotten an increase in childcare and federal block grants. And that was the agreement that we were going to have, right? It was we're going to be tough on crime and we're going to invest here. And these are like literally what being a politician is about. It's about the give and take. So we cannot have these conversations in vacuums. And I just need people to like really do research and not just look at memes.
But that's what
people, they don't know. They don't know that.
Transparency will also help with respect to their past and their record, and if they can help paint that picture for everybody, instead of being defensive, instead of brushing it under the rug, but being like, no, this was kind of the trade-off. But I know it's hard to use that term because you're talking about people's lives here, but in the sense, just paint the picture for everybody, and then also show, I think, the progress going forward, detail. Like for me, it's all about statistics and numbers and a plan, not these bright, long, big ideas. And so what is your actual strategy, and how do you put that in layman's terms for people to really truly understand it and resonate with it? That's what I feel like they need to do, and we will be able to move past this. But we don't have a lot of time left.
We don't.
No,
we have no. And we can't forget that the American public is very uninformed. Like they don't even understand. They don't even understand. And
they're not even trying.
No,
but
they don't. But that's the problem. Like people, like, and I keep posting this meme that if you may not be interested, you may not like politics, but your landlord is, your bosses, your, your teachers are like, and they're going to use everything against you to, through politics. So you have to get involved. Enough of saying, I don't care about it. It's not about, because
we don't have enough angry anti-Trumpness anymore either. There's just, it's not much.
So there's not apathy, and we have to talk about voter suppression quickly, if we may, just because I need people to understand, like, and I get it. Like, Kamala is not getting the hood vote. She's not getting the young vote, like, nor is Biden, and they're becoming very apathetic towards the entire democratic process and civic engagement totally. But why would they want to suppress your vote so bad? Why are they picking up mailboxes off the street? Why are they calling people saying, if you go vote and you owe child support, we'll lock you up? Why are they telling seniors, like, you can vote online and we'll do it for you, and it's really just make-believe so that seniors don't go out and vote? Why are they doing all these efforts to make sure that they suppress the vote? Because our vote actually does have power and it matters. And that's why we have to get out there. And just this whole thing, like Trump and Biden are the same, is just ridiculous. They're not the same. I understand why people say that. But what this country will look like 4 years from now under Trump versus Biden is going to be entirely different. And I need people to get out and go register and to vote. Like, please. That's it.
Oh, love it. So, I mean, my last question really was about your personal feelings towards having a Black woman VP. Forget that it's Kamala for a second, but just having the idea of it, the I guess the symbolism, because Democrats love a symbol. They love a good symbol. Nothing about. They love a good Barack Obama. They love a good JFK. Like this is what they're known. Yeah. So, what do you guys feel about having on a personal
I'm dead inside. So, what do you guys feel?
Oh my God. Well, can I ask you? I love it. Can I ask you, how does it differ from her when she was running as the president? Like, is there a difference for you? Like, do you feel anything? Like before? I mean, I know Maxine feels she's dead inside. Both of y'all are like,
we're both dead inside, child. We're just trying to get this done.
You know what? I think it's just the climate. The way it presents itself. Either we're like traumatized from Obama, or we just know that no matter what, they'll never
traumatized.
Trump, but because like in the sense of how he was treated and just like the legacy and how it ended, and it was like it kind of gave you a sour feeling. Like that was the first Black president. It wasn't supposed to feel like that at the end. You know what I mean? And almost like I almost feel like we're never going to get our moment. So whatever we're chasing, it doesn't really matter to me anymore. Like the identity of trying to, like, I'm over it. Like I just really see, I guess because Trump is so problematic that you're just kind of like, listen, at this point, just like, let's just get it right.
I think you also have a.
But then I mean maybe it just comes down to the pool that we had, and perhaps in the future there'll be someone who invigorate that feeling again that I'm looking for and chasing for, but I didn't have it from anybody. That even when there was 16 or 17 and Asians and Spanish, and I don't know if it's the climate, I don't know if it's my personal disconnect with, like, because I've said I feel a little lost in the Democratic Party, and I feel just in general, just, the politics and the way, the game, the strategy, all that, it doesn't gel with me anymore. So I'm totally disconnected. And I think that makes it hard for me to identify with anybody, whatever you look like. If you resemble this, not, I want to say establishment, but that way of thinking and doing things, I don't want no part of it. And so I'm going to struggle, I think, period. But I'm just dead, and I have no feelings for it. I really don't.
But that doesn't mean you're like you're like on the Trump side, the Trump train or anything.
Hell no.
Just gotta clear it up for the people that might think that.
I am voting Biden, Kamala. Let me say it right. But I'm just saying,
it's pronounced Kamala.
I don't know. I just don't have that feeling that, like, I feel like I'm supposed to. It's so frustrating because I want to have it and I keep trying to get it and I just can't.
Yeah. Isn't it funny that she can look like one of our like cousins or be related to us and we still see like it's like it's hard. Like it really is. Even when she was running for president.
But can I make another statement real quick?
Sure.
But I feel there's still so much inherent misogyny, even like within I think subconsciously within ourselves, in the sense of like the way we just interpret them and the way we analyze them. Like, I don't think we would have done it if it was like a man. And I feel like we really just like break her down like way too much, and like every little thing that irritates us and bothers us, like I feel like it wouldn't have happened if it was a man. And I'm self-aware that I'm doing it, and I don't think it's fair. That's what's causing me to like even just hearing her talk irritates me, and the way she and I'm like, what I do. Seriously,
she has like a sometimes
that's this latest thing though. She came out.
But would I do that if she was a man? Like, I don't know. But I'm just like, why am I?
Probably not.
You know what irritates me? Her wardrobe irritates me. Like, I'm like, can they put a suit that fits? Because her suits are always oversized. They're not like who is Michelle Obama's stylist and where is she? Because she needs like a fashion makeover. Like,
and see, I actually love the way she dresses.
Oh God!
I just feel like
the box suits. So over it. so over
I
it.
love
It's like
the way she dresses though, because it's normal to me. It's like, oh, you're a woman in power, and like you don't want your butt being shown, or
right.
you know,
You don't want to
your
be
boobs
sexualized.
out. Right. You want to be seen as like this leader, and so I get it, and I get her struggle. And I did like recently, you know, when they announced and they were together, and she was like, listen. She seemed more relaxed. She seemed the most relaxed. She seemed more straightforward. Like she seemed attacking, but you know, elegant. And so I am excited for what it represents to other people for some reason, because she isn't that blackity black on black woman. I don't feel it in my heart because that's who I am. You know, all day my shirt literally says fight the power. Like I need she is the power. So it is.
Stop.
It is, she is. So it's hard, I think, like, you know,
oh man,
for your brain.
We're never gonna, we gotta, at the end of the day,
you know what? I just want to say, as someone who is the biggest hypocrite from a year ago, saying to you, Kirsten, I will never leave the United States. And I'm like, I am a hypocrite in my own words. I just feel I am, but I feel that we really need to give people a chance to change. You know what I'm saying? And
which is why I brought up her marijuana bill.
And maybe she will truly change and genuinely change, and that, or not even change, but progress. So whatever is the right terminology. But just going like back to my points, I mean, I used to say about Hillary, you know, she imagined the world she had to live in and how she had to be tough and how she had, you know what I'm saying?
Oh my God.
And we take that for granted. And so, I mean, she's obviously younger than Hillary by like, you know, 15, 20 years or whatever, but she still technically grew up in, right. So when they say, oh, she's hard, or she's, you know, look at how her facial expressions and all that. And it's like, well, think about the world she had to live in and fighting and competing with these men, and to be, you know, even though some people will say, I wouldn't, you know, well, there's the debate about how she got where she got, just saying, you know, we can have another conversation about that. But
that wouldn't even be.
That's personal.
Let me say, that wouldn't even be a topic of conversation if it was a man. There were so many men when I worked in city government, okay, who were sitting next to me with me with my master's degree and them with their I don't know degree, okay, who just knew somebody and whose dad played golf with this person, and that's how we're both in this room. So as a woman, however the hell you need to get to where you need to get to, boo boo, you do what you got to do to get there.
These are all things people are
judging.
Yes.
Which is absurd to me though, because see, to me, it's just everything's rooted in white supremacy. And it's just like, you know, if she, because like we're not judging the same way when someone has a legacy, you know, and their son is doing this. And if it's your dad that gave you this opportunity, we don't judge it. She doesn't have any of that. She's a first generation immigrant family trying to make her way. And so the more I'm talking about it, the more I am getting excited for her, because I'm realizing like, she is like us in these very professional settings. And I've seen it in myself where I'm in a room full of very powerful white men. And I found myself being more moderate, right? I found myself being more hard on certain things and like being more fiscally conservative because I'm in this room and this is what's influencing me. So I can't imagine her in her position of power, what she was influenced to be like. And so my goal for her is like, do whatever you got to do to get in office. But when you get in office, we got to hold your feet to the fire to make sure that we have some change. People want to vote and be done. That's not it.
And that's what I wanted to bring up. I wanted to say that I feel like what happened with Obama, people are now scrutinizing him and saying, well, he didn't do this, he didn't do that. But when he was there, you guys were sleeping. Everybody was asleep. Right. No one was there. People were trying to get Obama, like, hey, can you get this? He couldn't even rally people like around certain causes. Obama had a tough time. You guys wouldn't vote in the smaller elections, you know, you only voted for the like there's just so many things we left Obama hanging. And I think a lot of the reason why we didn't get what we wanted with the first Black president or mixed race president was the fact that, you know, we weren't there. We literally were busy watching Kardashians rise to fame. Like we weren't doing anything remotely as much as we're doing now. And I think what's interesting, and might be the only positive thing that I give the current inhabitor of the White House, is that he made us all wake up. We literally woke up and we're at like, I feel like I was interested in politics before. I mean, I studied, was a poli-sci major, but I kind of, you know, that I'm in music, so I totally ignored it and just watch it sometimes on MSNBC, but even I wasn't paying attention. And now, like the last 4 years, I literally like read almost everything. I'm watching everything. Especially now with this campaign. So I feel like a lot, and I see a lot more people of color are being involved. You have TikTokers that are doing things against the president. You know what I mean?
And now he's getting rid of TikTok, right?
I love that. I love the TikTok revolution against him. I love it. So, I mean, so all of that to say, if we want if we want, like, this is the thing. There's another part of it that says that Trump's going to keep doing for the Black vote is say that he's done more for Black people than, you know, arguably President Lincoln. And forgetting that Lyndon B. Johnson signed all these, and John F. Kennedy started civil rights, but he ignores that. He ignores all of that. So I do want to say we need to have our ducks in order when it comes to these things, because he's going to keep throwing these little like crumbs that he threw at people of color. And I'm not saying that the First Step Act was a total, you know, crumb, but it's like just like what it is, a first step. It's not, you know, and giving money to HBCUs. I mean, every president does that. It's just the way they have to keep coming federally. They have to come and ask for more money. That's just how it is. And yes, he made it for like a forever, you know, amount, which is nice. But again, these are not things that we should be like clapping for. And I feel like he uses this to dangle around, and we're like, you see, it's true. He did do a lot for Blacks. He did, you know, and it's like, no, for me, it's all about economics for me, Black economics. How are we going to empower our people to buy homes? How are you going to get these student loans off our backs? And how are you going to get our education, you know, in these schools? And if Kamala and Joe can attack these things, they would be the best. They would be the best. They would be great, you know. So, on that note, is there any other final things you want to say about the Kamala episode? It's pronounced Kamala. That's the name of the episode.
Go vote.
Just do your research and vote.
Yeah.
Stop retweeting these whack memes, man. Stop this mess. It's like, please.
And yes, hopefully people got a little bit more informed on this episode.
Let's give her a chance. Let's give them a chance.
And don't vote for Kanye.
Oh,
please don't. Like, Jared Kushner is teaching and funding him so that they can take votes away from the Biden-Harris ticket. Please stop being sleep. All this fake woke mess, please.
Wait, real quick though, don't you think Kanye splits Trump in any way or not?
I thought that too. I thought that too, but no.
He's like,
everyone I seen are like the younger generation folks who are just so fed up with the whole system that, you know, Bernie didn't get in, where they're just like, well, I believe in Kanye more than I believe in these other two.
But everybody's like saying the people who say that, it's like, can you tell me what Kanye is saying? Kanye has yet to say one thing, but he didn't kill his daughter. Like, that's the only thing he said.
Oh my God.
That was the only, like, what has he said?
Which shows you he will not be pro-choice. Like, we're going to have to, like, come on, people.
Honestly, even if if he was even if he, by miraculous, he became president, that man he doesn't even know what he has no, if people are that stupid, then they deserve
Trump is our president.
Trump.
So people are that stupid.
That's right. All right. On that note, we all got to vote. This was fun. We got to do this again. This was really good. I like to say it was really good,
you guys.
Yes, we're glad. We're glad you're back. Well, this is the end of the episode. I'm Kirsten D on Instagram.
Maxine.Outerbridge.
Miss Yaya on Instagram.
And we're out. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.